There's a world in which hand-drawn Japanese animation is regarded with high quality as a genuine form of storytelling. Yet in this same world, a conglomeration of American studios attempt to capitalize on this ancient art form by changing it to live action and adapting it for modern audiences. Although this attempt has failed many times in the past, these companies still do not understand their folly. If you exist in this world, then you find yourself in the Twilight Zone. Welcome back to Words of Paradise. I'm your host, Leon Idol, and that's right, I'm sure you heard the buzz about the new live-action One Piece series. It's been announced for quite some time, but now a potentially credible leaker has announced that, test screenings are not looking good, and we're gonna dive right into that because, let's be honest, they failed so many times before. Is anyone really surprised at this point? I feel like this was inevitable. Let's take a look at this article. One Piece live action reportedly got a negative response in its first test screening. I mean, is anybody truly shocked? The live-action adaptation of One Piece series was first announced by series creator Eiichiro Oda back in 2020. From that moment on, the production team has been tirelessly working to create a live-action version that captures the essence of the original story. The series announced the cast of the series. That's a very strange way to word that. The series announced the cast of the series after almost a year and even released a teaser of the live-action venues. The production of the series was even reportedly... They're using the word series so much, guys, it's gonna lose all meaning. Was even reported complete in 2022, but the recent news might break the hearts of most One Piece fans. No, the recent news will probably have the average One Piece fan shedding tears of joy because, let's be honest, no real One Piece fan was looking forward to this live-action adaptation. In fact, I can't think of any anime fan who looks forward to any live-action adaptation due to what history has taught us. And remember, those that don't learn from history are doomed to repeat it. Now, there is one good thing I can say about this anime. It is that the casting actually looked pretty good. I mean, One Piece does have an incredibly diverse cast, so at least we didn't have to worry about Hollywood changing things up to meet any sort of diversity quotas, and the actors they got did all match the ethnicities from the anime. Luffy, Brazilian, Zoro, Japanese, Nami, Swedish, so on and so forth. So yeah, I actually think casting-wise, it looked great. But a cast that looks accurate, I'm sorry, you're gonna need a whole lot more than that to make your live-action anime work. I mean, live-action anime has been a scourge on the West, and it's not even something that Japan gets right half the time. According to a recent article by Fandom Wire, Divinity Seeker, a well-known Twitter account that focuses on movie discussion and news, shared an update on the test screening for the highly anticipated One Piece live-action series. It appears that early impressions of the series have been somewhat disappointing. I feel like when they say somewhat disappointing, they are really minimizing this, with viewers commenting the poor quality of the CGI effects used throughout the episodes. Furthermore, it seems the storyline of the initial episodes left the production staff who were unfamiliar with the series' background feeling confused and unable to grasp the plot. I have so many questions about this. First of all, One Piece is one of the most critically acclaimed stories, really not even in anime, but of all time. I mean, it is one of the highest selling IPs in the world. In fact, it's the only anime/manga that outsells the GOAT, Dragon Ball, at least in its home country of Japan, but I'm pretty sure it even took over worldwide. Could be wrong there, so don't quote me on that. So the fact they got a production crew that was inexperienced with the IP is baffling, because it is a massive IP even to non-anime fans. I mean, you can show someone a picture of Luffy, they might not know him by name, but they've at least seen his visage before, because he's even in a bunch of Western media. Also, the idea that they were unable to grasp the plot is mind-blowing. I remember reading One Piece back when I was like 8 or 9 years old in Shonen Jump magazines right alongside Rurouni Kenshin, Yu-Gi-Oh!, Dragon Ball. I mean, those monthly Shonen Jump issues were great, and me at 9 years old could grasp the plot. How were fully functioning adults who were writing and producing the show not able to grasp the story? I mean, yeah, like any anime, or at least like a lot of good anime, it does have its moments of deepness and complexity, but it's not a super difficult story. I mean, the age range the actual anime and manga is for young boys who are between the ages of about 9 to 15. Now, obviously, there is a much larger audience than that's intended for, because it is that well written and well crafted of a story and world, but at the end of the day, if the intended age range is for young boys from like 9 to 15, you would think some adults would be able to figure out how to grasp the plot. April 13th, 2023, Divinity Seeker posted a tweet providing insight into the current state of the One Piece live-action adaptation. And in his tweet, we see, from a source connected to Netflix, by the way, since this is a leak, I guess I should say, this is all just rumor, speculation. That being said, I'm pretty sure that a lot of this can be taken as truth, because once again, it's a live-action anime adaptation. I mean, even if this is all made up, it's probably gonna come to fruition, because this is just par for the course for live-action anime adaptations. From a source connected to Netflix, Avatar: The Last Airbender will no longer release in 2023, but Netflix believes this will be their Stranger Things. isn't Stranger Things their Stranger Things? Because, I mean, Netflix owns Stranger Things. One Piece tested horribly, the CGI looked bad, and the story didn't make sense to non-fans, and they're rewriting entire episodes. Evidently, the CGI quality in the live-action adaptation is quite disappointing, especially given that the series revolves around cartoonish powers, making CGI a critical component for a successful live-action film. I disagree. I think that the vast majority of this probably could have and should have been done with practical effects. Is that more expensive? Yeah, but again, you probably had the budget to do it when you're dealing with the single biggest anime/manga IP in the world. I mean, if you're going to put all this money into getting the rights, go ahead and put forth the money to make things look as good as possible. And in every 9 out of 10 instances, practical effects are always going to look better. Yes, the world of One Piece is absolutely fantastical, and also yes, CGI can be used sparingly. In fact, CGI can often be used to enhance practical effects, but the fact they were going, at least by the description we're getting here, mostly CGI, I'm pretty sure a lot of us saw that coming anyway, and know that that would be a mistake out the gate. Practical should always be the first attempt. There's a reason that the models and stuff in the Star Wars sequel trilogy do admittedly look better than the prequels, despite the fact that those movies are garbage and awful. I'll take the prequels any day, but the practical effects of the ships and whatnot, instead of everything being CGI like the prequel trilogy, I gotta admit, does visually look better. Moreover, the storyline failed to resonate with non-fans, including staff members who were not familiar with One Piece. This can be attributed to weak writing and lack of cohesive scene connections, which are now causing detrimental consequences. Once again, who didn't see this coming? One Piece is a vast, vast story. I mean, one season alone of the show could probably cover, I don't know, just meeting the first 3 main characters. You could do an entire season that's just Luffy, meeting Nami and Zoro. When you've got a cast of like 9 main characters, I mean, Luffy and his crew, yeah, I think they're probably going to try and speedrun some stuff, and of course it's not going to connect well. One Piece is a vast world. It's been running since the 90s and still isn't finished. The idea they thought they could do a story on that epic a scale in live action and rush everything, again, I'm not shocked, but you would think there'd be some quality control guys that would realize, hey, we've bitten off so much more than we can chew. We are not Luffy or Goku or any other anime character who, it doesn't matter how big a bite you take, they can still just swallow it anyway because anime logic. No, we've bitten a big bite and we can't handle this. We should cut our losses, and clearly they didn't do that. They have not learned. Who is in charge at Netflix? They've been taking L after L lately. The most disheartening aspect of this situation is that the production team has reportedly decided to rewrite all of the episodes from the ground up. Now, I do find that difficult to believe. Like, yeah, it may have tested poorly, but to rewrite entire episodes, that's going to get incredibly expensive. There is no way the show is going to be a success, because even if everyone who has a Netflix account watches this show and a bunch of new people sign up to watch this show, the sheer expense of it guarantees it's not going to get more than 1 season. I don't care how good the ratings are, they're not going to pay for a second season when it didn't make its money back, even if it does actually end up being good with all the rewrites. I mean, that didn't happen with Cowboy Bebop, but this is a different story. They could rewrite it, make it good, and it still wouldn't get a second season because it is so damn expensive. Divinity Seeker shared more details in the follow-up tweets. The story of the live-action majorly deviates from the source material. Right, because that worked so well for Death Note and Dragon Ball Evolution. In a follow-up comment, Divinity Seeker provided further details about the content of the first episode. According to the update, the first half of the episode is dedicated to Luffy's flashback. After this, the narrative shifts to the present day, rapidly introducing Zoro, Sanji, Nami, and Usopp within the remaining 15 minutes of the episode. Mind you, for those of you that have not seen One Piece, each of these characters, Zoro, Sanji, Nami, Usopp, they all took several episodes apiece to be introduced. You get introduced to Zoro first. That episode, that arc in and of itself is like 3 to 5 episodes. Nami, just the same. Usopp, the same. And finally, Sanji. But now, you're going to take 5 characters, if you include Luffy, and give them 15 minutes? You've got 3 minutes per character, if you break it down, to get everyone introduced to the crew in what took about 50, I think, maybe, give or take, episodes of the original anime. And now, granted, the original episodes are only 30 minutes apiece, and when you account for commercials, that's 22 minutes. So yeah, it takes about 5 episodes to meet each character per character in 22 minutes. But even if you give the show an hour, If only the last 15 minutes is used to introduce 5 characters, well, 4 since we've already gotten to see Luffy, that's just bad writing. It doesn't matter if it's an adaptation or not. That's bad writing in any situation. On One Piece in the first episode, the first half is completely all flashbacks / features of young Luffy, before we jump to the present and rush through introductions to Zoro, Nami, Usopp, and Sanji, all within the remaining 15 minutes. Well, if the first half is all about Luffy, and the last half is all about the crew, and the last half is 15 minutes, that means the first half must also be 15 minutes. So these are 30-minute episodes. I do doubt that's the case. I mean, I can't imagine they would do a live-action anime adaptation and still have the episodes be 30 minutes. That seems a bit extreme, so I actually am wondering about the credibility of this leak, but does it change the end result? No. In the manga and anime, the introduction of the main cast is spread across multiple episodes, with Luffy's past revealed later in the narrative. Fans of the series may be disappointed with the significant changes made in the live-action version, as it seems to deviate from the much-loved storyline that made One Piece a worldwide phenomenon. Yeah, exactly. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. I mean, I hate to keep going back to the Super Mario Bros. Movie, but that's a perfect example of honoring the source material. Yes, there is a bit of new stuff, adding Mario's family, showing him in the real world, but the vast majority of the story is completely honoring the source material. And when you have source material that ranges for over 20 years, to disrespect it out the gate, you are burning any goodwill you may have had. Again, might I direct you to Netflix's other folly, Cowboy Bebop. The direction of the live action looks non-consistent, and it bothers me that they didn't say inconsistent, but I digress. Divinity Seeker further says the show's direction is not working out. He says the makeup of some of the cast looks awkward, and some of the cast looks feel off. He also mentions in episode 3 of live action that the Barate arc, which will start Sanji's entrance arc, well, if Sanji's entrance is in episode 3, how do they put Sanji in the last 15 minutes of episode 1? I'm getting a bit confused here. Once again, these leaks, either they're not true or there's information being omitted. Either way, episode 3 of the live action, the Barate arc will start Sanji's entrance, and for this purpose, the production team has created an extensive set. Now that is cool. I do like that. I mean, a real practical set of the Barate, that is pretty awesome. From the source, as for the tone of the show, it's not really working. The makeup look of some of the cast looks off, and the show jumps between being over-the-top goofy to being serious, and is jarring and inconsistent. Now, that being said, the anime is literally the exact same way. In fact, that's how the vast majority of shonen anime works. So, again, this actually lends credence to them being familiar with the source material, the people working on the show, because, well, that's how the anime works. Now, granted, it is a tone, or, multitude of tones that is difficult to transition to real life. It's much easier and less jarring to have complete tonal changes in something animated than something live action. But that being said, it actually leads credence to the show being consistent with the source material rather than inconsistent with it. But again, those are just my thoughts. One notable aspect of the show is its rapid transition between serious and comedic scenes, leading to an inconsistency in the delivery of each scene. While this may be seen as a positive feature by some, as One Piece is known for its seamless blend of dramatic and lighthearted moments, the inconsistency could potentially be concerning. Fans will have to wait and see how the aspects of the live-action adaptation ultimately play out. Why would fans wait and see this? I guarantee you, the vast majority of fans aren't going to watch it. The appearance of the cast in the live action looks awkward. In the end, Divinity Seeker offered his personal take on the live-action adaptation's visuals. He mentioned that he had seen a few clips, which appeared to be decent and nothing out of the ordinary. However, he did express concerns about the cast's hair color, specifically Nami's orange, Zoro's green, and Sanji's blonde hair, as they did not look natural. I'm gonna be honest, I don't care too much if it looks natural, because frankly, I've seen some Japanese live-action anime productions where the hair doesn't look natural, and it's never really bothered me, especially for One Piece, where it's very clearly a fantastical world. Now, that being said, when you watch the Rurouni Kenshin live-action films where everyone's hair is natural, my god, is it incredible. I mean, the live-action Rurouni Kenshin films are just, they're borderline perfect, if I'm being completely honest. Taking out the fact that they're adapting a manga / anime, they're still fantastic movies with ungodly choreography. But again, when you add the adaptation aspect, the respect goes even higher, because they do realistic versions of everything from the anime. Point I'm getting here is, different versions of different anime that are live action, I've seen it work when they go the more fantastical route. The JoJo's Bizarre Adventure live-action film, which adapts the first half or so of Season 4 or Part 4, Yeah, it looks hokey, but it actually really works because it's JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. So I don't necessarily see this as a problem considering the type of world that One Piece is. That is not me defending this show, though. I'm still not going to watch it because, frankly, I don't need the ulcers. In the context of the anime, these hair colors are considered normal due to the fantastical nature of the story. As such, the production team's challenge is to make these hair colors appear as natural as possible within the live-action adaptation. Achieving this balance will be crucial to maintain the authenticity of the characters while adapting the beloved series for a new medium. And in the final thoughts, the credibility of the source, Divinity Seeker, is yet to be fully confirmed, but regardless of its accuracy, it's undeniable that adapting the One Piece series into live-action format is an immense challenge. The recent update stating the production team plans to rewrite some episodes from scratch might offer a sense of reassurance to fans. No, it should absolutely be an instance of disassurance, if that's even a word. If they're having to rewrite entire episodes from scratch, that's not good. Yes, it sounds on the surface like, hey, they're trying to fix things. But again, think of the cost of rewriting and potentially refilming entire episodes. Because if these episodes are having to be rewritten because they tested poorly, that means these tested episodes have already been filmed. Well, that costs money. The sets cost money. The actors cost money. So, no, it just guarantees the show to fail, even if the rewrites are good rewrites. Considering the cast has already completed filming, it's highly unlikely that the production team would be able to reshoot everything, especially given the substantial financial investment behind each episode of the One Piece live-action series. With millions of dollars at stake, the idea of redoing entire episodes seems improbable, if not impossible. Ultimately, the success of the One Piece live-action series will depend on the ability to strike a balance between staying true to the original material and making the necessary adjustments to translate the story into a new medium. And frankly, that's completely fair. That's what comic book movies have always been so great about when they're great about it. I mean, Spider-Man 2, The Dark Knight, hell, Blade, X-Men, even early MCU films have been able to do this. And One Piece really shouldn't be different because, well, One Piece isn't really any more fantastical than anything I just listed. I mean, yeah, because it's drawn, you would think it is, but is a guy who can eat some magic fruit and stretch his arms and who is also a pirate any more fantastical than a high school dweeb who got bit by a radioactive spider and can now crawl on walls and fight bad guys named after an octopus with robot arms? When you put them side by side, they both sound equal amounts of loony. It also worked for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Say that name slowly. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. People should not be able to come up with such a out there concept like that, much less make it work. But the live-action 1990 Ninja Turtles movie is nearly perfect. So I actually don't think a live-action One Piece is impossible. I think it's just not going to be given the care that it requires because they're going to treat it as a cash grab. So there we are. That's today's trip into the Twilight Zone. I hope you guys liked that. It just hit me. Thought it'd be fun to do something a little bit different. But yeah, this live-action One Piece, man, it's going to fail. Did anyone have any doubts? Netflix has done several anime adaptations. None have been good. I mean, granted, I didn't watch the Bleach one, but I've heard it was not good. Death Note wasn't good. Cowboy Bebop, somehow worse. Fullmetal Alchemist, honestly, tolerable. Not good, but for what it was, definitely the best of the three. And the Rurouni Kenshin films, well, those weren't Netflix. Netflix just, got the licensing to them, and they were the fourth and fifth movies after three incredibly successful ones. Now, that may have also been the case for the live-action Fullmetal Alchemist and Bleach movies, but at the end of the day, Cowboy Bebop and Death Note, that was absolutely all Netflix, and again, we saw how that turned out. Rurouni Kenshin seems to be like the only one that's done it well. You can also maybe make some arguments for Ghost in the Shell, but that wasn't Netflix, and even then, that's a pretty tenuous subject. All in all, this is going to die, it's going to fail, even if it ends up being good. If what we read here is true, it's so immensely expensive, Netflix is not going to fund a season 2. But those are just my opinions. Let me know yours in the comments below, or let me know on Twitter where you can find me at BoltTheWord. And please do subscribe. We are getting real close to that 800 subscriber mark, and I couldn't thank you guys enough. It's been incredible. I can only do this because of you. And once we get to 800, we're so close to 1,000. I mean, wow. Thank you again. I truly do appreciate it. And remember, I am a nerdy news channel. I do nerdy news every day. Not always about anime, sometimes about Star Wars, Disney in general, comic books, Magic the Gathering, you name it, it's all here in the nerdosphere, and this has been Words of Paradise.